Hey, what's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to be checking out the Hasbro Marvel Legends Marvel's Warlock wave, as we have a look today at Marvel's Colossus. The very large Colossus first debuted in giant-sized X-Men #1 back in 1975. Grabbing the old tape measure, we're going to have to actually extend the tape measure a little bit longer for this one. Colossus stands just shy of 8 inches tall, so he's certainly a lot taller than some of the other figures that we looked at. Let's say, for example, we'll bring in Cyclops as our deciding our bar, so to speak. You can see how much taller he stands versus a standard size Marvel Legends figure. Accessories that come included with Colossus are really none other than the pieces for Warlock here. A very interesting head sculpt for Warlock. And he also does come with a interchangeable blade. Now, I have to come clean. I feel a little robbed of the fact that the blade doesn't rotate. Not that I really was expecting it to rotate, but when you show me something like this, my first notion is to go like this and see if I can actually spin it. It doesn't spin. I don't really expect, I guess, it necessarily had to spin, but I kind of just wish that it did. I don't know. Let's reach off camera and grab what we've done so far for Warlock. Now, we already know how tall Cyclops, or Colossus, is. If we stand him next to Warlock, if I can actually get him to properly stand, his knees seem to be a little on the disjointed side, but he actually stands a little taller than Colossus here. That is to say, until we go ahead and add the head, which sits atop the neck just via a ball joint. There we go. You can see he now stands a lot taller than Colossus. And what we can also do too is if you want to switch out the hand, you can change it out for the blade. There we go. And it just gives you a couple of little extra things that you can do with Warlock above and beyond just using, of course, the hand. That's it. We finished Warlock. Won't do a review of him just yet because we still have to look at Old Man Logan, which will actually be the next video. And then after that, then we'll have a look at Warlock. So here we have Colossus. Now, really, I'm a bit of a sucker when it comes to Colossus figures. I really generally like when Colossus come out, and it wouldn't really be the plural in that case, but when he does come out in whether it be Marvel Select, Marvel Legends, for example, generally I'm really enjoying those figures. I think the figures are pretty good. This one, for the most part, I like, but I feel like he misses some marks. The head sculpt is actually pretty cool. As a whole, but I find, and I don't know if I'm the only one that sees this, I find like the head sits way too high on the neck. Like the neck is so incredibly long that the head should actually sit like right here. It should be about a 4 head, or in this case his 5 head should be a 5 head shorter, because it seems like the neck sticks way too high, or at least the head sticks up way too high. He does come with an interchangeable head, though, if you want something with a beard and a little bit more of a cooler hair sculpt. And to do that, we just go ahead and grab the figure's torso, wiggle it off, pop that off the ball joint, and replace it with the bearded Colossus. Now, let me just get this on here. It's a little difficult because you have to get it onto the ball joint. There we go, there we go, there we go. Again, like even getting it on the neck, does it not seem like the head sits a little too high? It should have been just a little bit lower. Not a bad looking head sculpt, but I think if, I don't know, being more of a fan of the original look of Colossus, I might default back to this design, which I think is a perfect fit for Colossus myself. The metallic on the face is done really nice, as well as a nice chiseled look to his face. Something that you would come to expect with Colossus. It certainly lives up to it. There's the interior of the socket for no other reason than just to show it to you. We'll go ahead and take the head off the ball joint. After all that, take it off. There we go. And replace it with the original head. Now again, I don't know. That bothers me a lot, that the head sits that far up. And it's kind of like if somebody tells you something about a movie, like a behind the scenes, like, did you know that they used a fake, well, for example, like True Lies. This is probably the weirdest of analogies. True Lies, I remember watching the behind the scenes footage of it, and there's a scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger is running across the field after a party, and all these people have now realized that he's in there, and he's not supposed to be there. He's running across the field, people are chasing after him. Two Doberman Pinschers come up to Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, and he basically slams the two dogs' heads together, and the dogs pass out. And watching the video of how they did it, they used like foam dogs. And ever since then, I can't not look at that scene and realize that it's very, very fake. That's, in some analogy, that's the way I look at this neck. The neck is way too high, so now that's all I can really see on the figure. The rest of his coloring and the rest of his outfit is not quite more the classic design of Colossus, but more so something that he wears later on. The yellows don't really match. I really don't know why, but distinct differences in yellow are very apparent here, where his thighs are a completely different yellow than the coloring of the interior thigh as you get to the waist area. This comes across more of a warmer yellow. Right down here, you get a completely different yellow altogether, and it's too noticeable not to miss it. Some nice coloring here where you got some metallic yellows incorporated into the boots. He doesn't seem stocky, as I would normally have said about a bigger figure. He doesn't read as much stocky because it's Colossus. Now, if they made use of this body for, I think they did use it for Venom, I found the Venom just looked stocky and too squat. Colossus, somehow I can pass it off more so because he's just a big, broad figure. I know you could also use the argument, well, Venom's really a big figure too. Why would that not be as much of an issue for Colossus here? But that's just the way I think. The metallic on the arms as well as the hands look good. Kind of less a very shiny silver and more almost like a dark muted silver. I like the bands wrapping around the arms. That's nicely done. The reds are nice, as well as the black interior. The symbol is very clean. Paint's generally good. There's the back of it. If only for the fact that his thighs obviously are not the same color as the rest of the yellow, I would actually say this figure pretty much does things very well, other than the fact that the head sits way too high on the figure. Let's run through his posability. His head rotates all the way around and a hinge up and down. I guess you could kind of bring the head closer down to make it look like it's not as high up, but you can't really straighten out the head. That's about as far as you're really going to get for it, because it has to obviously sit completely up to be having face forward. Arms hinge outward, as well as a full rotation all the way around. He has a swivel in his bicep. He has a single and only single hinge in the elbow, and he has a rotation in the hand. As you could probably expect it, you could probably see it, he has the crunch in the torso, so you can move the arms all the way, or the torso all the way up if you wanted to. You move it forward. It's a rotation in the waist. Forward and back motion on the legs. You got your split, you got your swivel cut in the thigh, double hinge on the knee, a swivel actually underneath the boot cuff, and you got your hinge in your foot, ankle pivot there as well. Things I like about this figure, let's run through them. Things I like about the figure, sculpt is good. Like the head sculpt. Not really crazy about the alternate head. Right there, there's the alternate head. Coloring for the most part is generally clean. I like the coloring that they used. The thighs though are the negative that I could make, and the head sits way too high. If the head sat lower and the thigh visible paint variance was changed where it wasn't so distinctly noticeable, I actually think that this would be a home run figure. Despite that, I still think the figure's pretty good, but it does leave room for improvement. And you never really want to walk away with looking at a figure thinking, he's good, but there's room for improvement. You always generally want to pick up a figure and think, you know what, they hit the figures right off the bat. It's a perfect representation of the figure, and I'm happy with the purchase. I'm happy with this purchase, but I do feel like there's a little few things here and there that I would have changed and made differently. Today, though, we were finishing up. I say finishing up because we looked at the last figure that required you to build Warlock, which is off camera. He's over here. We still technically have one figure left to go, and that's Old Man Logan. He doesn't technically come with Build-A-Figure pieces specifically for Warlock, so you really, that basically in a nutshell, you've got Warlock now ready to go. But we will still look at Old Man Logan, then the review of Warlock will be right around the corner, so there's still 2 videos to go. If you guys like this video, always appreciate you hit it with a like. Let me know down below what you think of this figure. Do you think it misses a few marks here and there, or do you think it's a pretty good representation of Colossus? Always like hearing what you guys have to say down below. Always like newcomers to this channel. If you like this channel, certainly hit it with that like and a subscribe. Always is appreciated, because I always like to see you guys jumping on board and staying tuned for new videos. Thanks, guys. See you next time.